And you're listening to Flashpoints on Pacifica Radio. People who listen to this show know and listen to Pacifica Radio know who Greg Palast is. He is known for many things, investigative reports for The Guardian, bestsellers including The Best Democracy Money Can Buy. Greg Palast film about the latest attacks on the right to vote is called Vigilantes, Inc., America's New Vote Suppression Hitmen. That's narrated by Rosario Dawson, produced by Martin Sheehan. He has been working with Flashpoints for many years now. We have concocted what we've been reflecting over the years as the Election Crimes Bulletin, and the election crimes continue. Greg, there's an election or two coming up, and you have raised a few issues. Are you suggesting that given the current situation, these elections might not be free or fair, or might not even be, period?
Well, I think what we have to get ready, it's a hard rain's going to fall. I'd bring your lead-lined umbrella. So what I'm doing today, in fact, I'm giving the Flashpoints audience a special sneak preview of something the rest of the nation hasn't seen yet. They won't see till next week. We're here from next week. Is I've put together with Black Voters Matter Fund, Rainbow Push, my good old late friend Jesse Jackson's organization, NAACP, Georgia Transformative Justice Coalition, and the Southwest Voter Registration Education Project, which is of course great Hispanic grassroots organization. I'm sure Richard knows them well. Hey, brother. And what we're doing is we're putting out a campaign called Save Your Vote. It's real simple. They've got all these new ways to shaft you out of your vote, especially if you're a voter of color, on a reservation, et cetera. And we're talking millions of votes at risk. And I'm not exaggerating. It's millions. And so the organizations have come to me.
I like this title here. You've labeled it Jim Crow Reloaded, and you're serious about that.
Yeah, that's exactly what it is. We're back to Jim Crow, except instead of white sheets, they're using spreadsheets, their favorite game. And we've identified at least 6 major ways that they're trying to take away the vote, especially people of color, young people. And so we're going to do a series of short video reels starring Ed Ward of the Transformative Justice Coalition and out of Chicago, to not only tell people the dangers, because we don't want to just bitch. We want to change the outcome so that the voters, not the vote rustlers, pick the next Senate and Congress. So, for example, now if you go to saveyourvote.org, no one else knows this exists. It's kind of a hidden site at the moment. It won't be released until next week. You can see what we're talking about. You can check your registration to see if you've been purged. You can spread around the word and get the information. But in a minute, I think we've got teed up the audio from one of our first video reels.
Yes.
And this one is called, we're warning people about the purge. So take a couple minutes and listen to Ed Ward lay it out for you.
I think we got it up there. Let's run it.
Stop illegal aliens from voting. Foreigners illegally registered to vote. Our elections were left vulnerable to being rigged and stolen.
They're stealing our elections? Stay with me for this episode of Jim Crow Reloaded to find out. Let's look at Utah. Utah spent a fortune auditing its voter roll, name by name.
The Department of Justice is suing Utah's Lieutenant Governor,
investigating 2 million registered voters. Guess how many illegally registered voters they found?
Only one.
Only one.
And they did not vote.
They did not vote.
In 25 years, only 99 people have been convicted out of several billion ballots cast, far fewer than the number of people hit by lightning.
Now, the other thing it will stop is voting by illegal aliens. And I can tell you that's been going on, unfortunately, for a long time.
The Heritage Foundation, who gave you Project 2025, says that there are 6 million illegal alien voters in the United States. When we asked them to name just 6 people, not 6 million, they came up with exactly none. Heritage, Trump, Kobach, armed with lists of names with addresses, couldn't find anyone who actually illegally voted. So do these illegal alien voters actually exist? Nevertheless, 21 million people could lose their vote based on this delusional, insane, completely BS accusation. How? Under Donald Trump's proposed SAVE Act, you won't be able to vote unless you can prove you're an American citizen. So how do you prove you're an American? Nope. Your license doesn't count. And in most states, your real ID won't work. And no, even if you're in the military, your military ID doesn't mean a thing. And this man, Chris Kobach, actually stopped an Air Force officer from voting because she couldn't get her birth certificate in time. To prove you're an American, you'll need a passport or your original birth certificate. Do you know where your mom put your birth certificate? If you're anything like me, it was lost a long time ago. Did you know 21 million citizens don't have a passport or a birth certificate? Are they all illegal or criminal voters? Not quite. But they won't be able to vote. Statistically, poor folks, younger people, students, unhoused folks don't have original birth certificates. In Kansas, Trump's guy blocked 35,000 voters from registering, most of them students who didn't provide their citizenship papers. In court, the state admitted that every single one of these voters, every one, is an American citizen.
A scheme to fly illegal aliens into the country and then to escort them en masse across the border by the millions, which gives them access to the voting booth.
And now, Trump wants to use lists of deported people known as the safe files to hunt for voters who were deported but swam back to vote in our elections? Florida used that list in 2012 to purge their roll with suspected non-citizens. And guess what? They only found one illegal voter, a guy from Austria who voted Republican. Yet 179,000 voters had their registration canceled.
Along with thousands of others, Maureen was given 30 days to prove she's a U.S. citizen.
A bit like a criminal, like I did something wrong or something. I wasn't sure why I was getting the letter.
So they're lying to us, creating a hysteria over outsiders invading our democracy. But it's really them who are trying to take your freedoms away. The freedoms of our parents and grandparents who bled for these rights. They're holding our freedoms hostage with a ransom note that says, "Show me your papers." What you can do about it is what those who came before us did. In 1965, when Martin Luther King crossed the bridge at Selma, black people in Alabama couldn't vote. By the time King and thousands of others reached the state capitol, the President of the United States submitted the Voting Rights Act. On their way, they were beaten. 4 marchers murdered. Now, I'm not saying you have to bleed in order to win, but you can't sit back on your behind and expect to keep your rights. So here's what I'm asking you to do. 1, get your passport or get your certified birth certificate now. 2, share this and make some good trouble. 3, join the fight, because this may be your last chance.
And we're back. We're speaking with Greg Palast. We're talking about a new project Greg is working on. Flashpoints is happy to be associated with this work that's about securing the right to vote. All right, Greg, take a few minutes and give us your top 5 dangers of how we're going to lose our right to vote.
Okay, so you just
this
heard
election will be swayed, can be swayed, might not be free and fair or at all. Anything at all.
Yeah, well, you just heard Ed Ward, who is the voice of most of the pieces of the investigative reports we're doing. He's a great voting rights activist, and he trains young people across the country on how to organize to protect the vote. And he's been going around on a bus with basketball hoops attached to it to get kids out into the street. They're shooting hoops. And he says, by the way, are you registered? If you're old enough to register to vote, you better be, if you're going to, or give me back my ball. And then where are your parents? Let's bring them out here. So this is a frontline activist. That's we need more of. And you can hear he's super articulate. And so the first one he was talking about is the citizenship requirement. Now, this is under the SAVE Act if it passes, but it doesn't matter because Trump is pushing it through an executive order, which says you have to prove you're a U.S. citizen in order to vote. Now, that sounds, by the way, Dennis, that sounds reasonable. I mean, you don't want non-citizens voting, except they don't. Heritage Foundation said that there are 6 million illegal alien voters. 6 million. They wouldn't come up. As Ed said, we asked them. Well, give us 6 names. You don't need 6 million. After all, if you're saying that there's millions of illegal alien voters, you've got their names. They register. You've got their address. Let's go arrest them. They played this game for years. Now, why would they do this if there really are no illegal alien voters? And, you know, unless you see guys coming down from a spaceship, I don't see aliens voting. The answer is they know who does not have that citizenship paper, which is number one, only 1 in 3 African Americans have a passport, 1 in 3. So 2/3 don't have that proof of citizenship. Your second proof of citizenship is a certified copy or the original birth certificate. Sorry, no photocopies, no driver's licenses, no military ID, none of that. That don't make you an American. What makes you an American and on paper are those two documents. Now, and they know, and who has a passport, what type of voter, the people that are spending their vacations skiing in the Alps. That when I'm from Pacoima, there ain't a lot of Pacas that go skiing and have their passport. Now, the other thing is who does not have original birth certificates. Poor people, especially, and by the way, a lot of home births, they're people. And guess who else? I don't want to leave out the better half because 69 million women took their husband's last name. And so now what do you do? Even if you got your birth certificate, it doesn't match. And then let's say you got married, divorced, remarried. It's the first husband's last. The paperwork you're going to have to bring in. I mean, it's going to be like closing documents on a mortgage.
A lot of potential for chaos here.
Well, that's
a lot of potential for chaos and angry people.
That's right.
Confusion.
And angry people. So this is one of the things we want to warn people about, but we don't want to just bellyache. We're telling you, I know Ed asked you for a heavy lift. Go get your passport. Sorry, that's a lot of work. Go get not again. It's not a driver's license or an ID, or find your original birth certificate, or get a certified copy. You think that's a lot of work, pal. It's just to vote for the school board. Yeah, it is. Now you asked for a list. Let me give you a few. The citizenship proof requirement, that is unbelievably horrific and dangerous. The second is the attack on mail-in voting. So most people in America now vote by mail. It's now the majority way that people vote. And Trump is saying a mail-in ballot is a fraudulent ballot. In other words, nearly 100 million Americans are committing fraud. I could laugh, except it's tragic. And they selectively stop people from mail-in voting, like in Texas, where they know that in the Tallarico versus Paxton Senate race, that they know that the Democrats like to vote early or they like to vote by mail. Well, you practically have to get a letter from a doctor saying you're missing both arms and you can't possibly vote. I mean, it's almost impossible to vote by mail now there. Yet, as you know, one of the tricks is if you don't vote by mail, you got to vote in person. And look at the difference in lines. So they understand how all these suppression tactics work together. So, for example, I'm in Ohio, and Ohio is another battleground state. Sherrod Brown stands a very good chance of retaking his Senate seat. He's running against a guy named John Husted, who I know as the Purgeon General of Ohio. He's the guy, Husted, who's been mass purging voters. Ohio went for Obama twice. So what happened? And the answer is that what happened was they literally removed over 500,000 Ohio voters. It went to the U.S. Supreme Court with the ACLU and NAACP and others saying, listen, these are legal voters. And they said, yeah, well, it doesn't matter. They're following their state procedure. It doesn't. Literally, the court didn't care that legitimate American citizen voters were wiped out. And they knew who they were wiping out. It's overwhelmingly in places like Cleveland. And then they don't let you vote by mail. They are purging the voter rolls. And then when I went to Dayton, Ohio, that was a 7-hour wait in line in November outside. So people were freezing in a parking lot, November in Ohio. 7-hour wait. Jesse Jackson called me from Cleveland. He was waiting 9 hours with a church group. And then I go to the white suburbs of Toledo and to see how long the lines were. And guess what, Dennis? There was a line
15 minutes.
There was a line of poll workers. There was no wait. And not only that, if you were in the white polling station, they gave hot coffee and cookies for showing up. And you've got the Bantu
You're making
stand.
this up.
I can't. And in the Bantu stand, they're freezing in an outdoor, parking garage, and people are. I'm interviewing people, and I can't see their faces because they're getting, covered with mist as they're trying to talk. it's so bad. It's like, and you have to understand. I cover elections all around the world. In Zimbabwe they don't have this. And so you got a citizenship requirement. You got the big purge. About 20 million people are being purged as we speak. I'd say about 4.5 million of those are legal voters. And I'm not guessing because I got Microsoft and American Express, a few other big corporations with the demographers and supercomputers. They go through all the names for me. I have to pay for some of it. And also I'm working, by the way, with the USPS. Remember that organization, the Postal Service?
Yes.
They're being treated like they're Al-Qaeda by our president. It's the post office, okay? And they're under the gun. So they work with me, and they go,
the post office is Al-Qaeda.
Well, that's the way Trump treats them, that they're the enemy. They're the enemy. And so he's asking the post office, demanding that the post office withhold your mail-in ballot unless you are on a DOGE list of approved American citizen voters. The problem with that is America does not have citizenship lists. We don't keep them. We're not Russia, okay? We don't keep citizenship lists. We're not China. But Trump thinks we ought to be. But we're in this catch-22. You can't get your mail-in ballot if you're not on the list, and the list is nonsense. So you've got the purge, you got citizenship, you got mail-in voting, you got the closure of drop boxes all over the country. They've decided, because of this film 2,000 Mules, they're closing all the drop boxes around the country. Atlanta, okay, so they reduced. I always use Georgia because I did this calculation. Georgia reduced the number of ballot drop boxes, so you don't have to wait in these ridiculous long lines, by 75% in the African-American majority counties, that is in Atlanta and Savannah. They reduced the number of drop boxes by 75%. There can only be one drop box for 100,000 voters.
Wow.
But in those small rural areas, they've actually increased the number of drop boxes. They have a county with 6,000 people and 12,000 cows. They get a drop box. 100,000 people in Atlanta have to share a drop box. Now, come on. You know what's going to happen. So then they can't get the drop box. So they wait in line, and now they've got hours of wait. So they understand what they're doing here. And then you've got, like I say, so there's various, these are just some of the tricks that they've been using. We have at least 6 that we're going to go through in detail. How you save your vote.
We really need to talk about how the counteract. What's the fight back look like? How do people restrain the government from stealing the right to vote?
Well, what we have to do is start out. So the groups, our organizations, have put together a website. It's not public yet, but I'm going to tell your listeners at Flashpoints, you can just type in saveyourvote.org. Saveyourvote.org. You'll get a sense of it. You'll see some of these videos with Ed Ward, and I'm also on one. And of course, we're going to have our people like Rosario Dawson and Robert De Niro and others that I work with, who are also going to bring you the message. But the important thing is the action. In each case, we're trying to tell you exactly what you do. And I know many of you are saying, I have to get a passport to vote. Buddy, you got to get a passport to vote. Or get your original birth certificate. And, again, who knows where your mom put it. And there's other things. Mail-in balloting, you better be prepared to make sure that it's absolutely perfect and try. You're going to have to go in and vote early. We're going to give you different ways to beat these systems, but nothing's easy. Nothing's easy here, Dennis. So go to saveyourvote.org and pass it around. The idea.
Okay, I have. So let me ask you this question. I have a license and a legitimate birth certificate. Am I safe?
With the well, you're a guy, I take it. So you didn't. You kept your married name, I guess, as Bernstein. But if you're a woman, Okay, number one, your license don't mean spam. This is America. That doesn't make you a citizen. It makes you a driver.
Right.
Exactly. I've been engaged to, green card holders. And if you have a green card and you drive, you better have a license. So the license doesn't make you a citizen. Isn't proof. Military card. we have people in the military who are not yet citizens. They've joined, so they become citizen. But that means that, when I said that an Air Force officer was blocked from voting in Kansas, needless to say, it was a female African-American Air Force officer. They know what they're doing. Oh, by the way, if you do have naturalization papers, have those with you. If you're a woman who's changed your name to take on your husband's name, or a husband at some point, or change your name for whatever reason, you better bring those papers and match it to your birth certificate. I don't know. No, there are no rules yet. See, that's the other thing. We're heading into the election, and they've come up with this cockamamie stuff, and they're saying, well, what if you've changed your name? It's like you're a woman who took on your husband's name. What do you do? They literally don't have a system, and it's very, very dangerous stuff. So the other thing is, make sure that you go to saveyourvote.org and find out how you get around this stuff. We're just very concerned, especially in the purge. Now, one of the things we're doing also at saveyourvote.org is there is a lookup. You can see if you have been purged. We're collecting the purge lists from around the country, and then you re-register. We're SV Rep, which is the Hispanic organization, in 2020, the reason why Biden and Ossoff and Warnock were able to win those elections, not that we're a partisan organization, we just help people vote, is that SV Rep made 150,000 phone calls into Georgia warning people that they had their registrations purged. And they got the messages. They were called in Spanish and English. And we got tens of thousands of people re-registered. Black Voters Matter sent out postcards. Rosario Dawson not only made a film for us, but we had a big Rosario electronic billboard over Atlanta saying, "Are you purged? You better check." So this type of campaigns we were running, but now it's 50 states. Basically the GOP states, it's not all GOP states. We got some big problems in California we've talked about on this show too. All
right, 30 seconds, Greg, to be continued. How?
To be continued. SaveYourVote.org. See you there.
All right. Thank you, Greg Palast, gregpalast.com. As always, appreciate the collaboration and more to come. Thanks, Greg.